So welcome. Thank you for joining today on the latest TLH 1% Club Roundtable. And today's session is focused upon really something that I think everybody, whether you're running a business, whether you're running a program, whether you are involved in a team, you want to work in an engaged team. So we're going to talk about 8 steps, 8 best practices to try to build that engagement within your team. So as I say, it's applicable irrespective of size of team, irrespective of type of organisation, irrespective of whether it's an operational team or project team or sporting team. It's all about how you can get that engagement across the team. As always, the process will be I share these 8 steps, and once we've completed that, we'll just open it up for a general conversation. Often it's about those areas and different people's experiences and thoughts upon what we've shared, but sometimes it goes off on tangents. So it's a no rules roundtable. It's about helping each other to become as good and as best as we possibly be. So let me share the screen and we can get straight into it. So hopefully you can see the usual screen. So let's get into it. So why does it matter? Well, we start these off with this question all the time now. And I was starting to think about, well, why does it matter to have an engaged team? And the answer was, well, it just does. It is the real foundation on team performance. It really encourages and enables teams to work to a higher standard and deliver to a higher standard, and deliver against a common objective. So yeah, rather than me just saying, well, it does. It is very much, I think, focused upon this ability to encourage a group of people to come together and work to a higher standard collectively.
Can I add, Tony, that it's satisfaction as well?
Well, interestingly enough, Chris, that is one of the things that comes through on the 8 steps. So okay. We're going to, you've seen the presentation already, haven't you? So.
I've jumped in very early. I need to
no, but you're right. It is. You're absolutely right. It's about that higher standard, but actually, as an individual, getting real personal satisfaction from working within the team as well.
And the reason I say that is performance is kind of business oriented, but satisfaction is personal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the 2 sides. But I'll be quiet. Thank you.
No worries, Chris, thanks. So let's get into the 8 steps, and then, as I say, we'll open it up for more of the discussion. So the first one is really to look to build an ethos around engagement. It doesn't have to be a big gesture. It's really about focusing upon the simple things, asking for feedback, providing some leadership where need be, really building upon a practice of respecting each other and trusting each other, and it's really about doing things right in a consistent way, and that's what builds the ethos. So yes, lots of people start to look at big things, big presentations, big events to try to build that sort of engagement piece. Actually, they can get forgotten really, really quickly, especially if you don't follow up with the simple, the basic, the consistent aspects that drives that ethos. So think about it, and think about how you can start to bring your team members into the discussions, how you can encourage them into discussions, how you can listen to them to really build that sort of consistent understanding of that engagement ethos. Number 2, links into that number 1, that trust and respect. So there's an old mantra, isn't there, that says respect and trust needs to be earned. Well, and there's an element of that, absolutely. We talk a lot in previous ones of these around people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And by definition, by putting that trust element at the end, we're suggesting it takes some time to get to that stage. Within your team, it's almost reversing that and putting the trust, giving trust, starting with the trust. Get it up front and trust your team. Don't make them get across multiple hurdles to earn your trust. Give the trust until the point where they, for whatever reason, don't live up to the standards. But give it and naturally provide it, because they'll understand it better. They'll realise what you're doing. They'll understand it better. They'll trust you a lot more. They'll be more open. They'll respect you a lot more, and they'll want to keep it. So put the standards high, but keep up to them, and really let them understand what it feels like to be trusted. Ways of doing that, again, just start to encourage discussion. If people are coming up with different points of view, encourage them to talk about it more, and encourage them to expand and explore it and get involved in it. Don't close it down. So it's really about building that trust and respecting the individual as part of that team. Step number three is what we call sort of build from the bottom up. Everybody's different, everybody's unique. And again, we'll say this a lot, a one size fits all just doesn't work. So connect with the people within the team on an individual basis and enable them to find their identity within the team. You might have to adapt different ways of handling different situations with different people. And I'll use a sporting analogy here. And I think people that have been on these calls before know that I'm a United fan, Man United fan. And one of the things that, by all accounts, because I've not had any personal experience of it, but all of the autobiographies, all of the books that have been written about what happened during the Alex Ferguson era within United, was that he had this ability to go and be really tough with some people, put his arms around other people, talk to them in a lot of detail about what he wanted with some players, and be very, very generic with other players. And it was his ability to understand what each person within that dressing room needed that allowed them to be the best that they can become, and allow the team to be the best that they can become. So it is very much about looking at people as an individual and building up from that, as opposed to saying, this is the way that I manage my team, this is the way that I engage with the team, and actually you all have to conform to the way that I want to do it. Look at what the individuals need and allow them to become the best that they can be. That's the last, I think, of the football analogies, certainly this season, with the performance that United have been doing. Number 4, focus upon mastery. And I think this is where, a little bit coming back to what Chris was saying, this in the next one. If you can help your team, individual team members, to master what they are doing and support them in that mastering process, so that they can be seen to be contributing to the best of their abilities, that's a much stronger way of building that team ethos and that engaged ethos than it is to encourage competition with others. In the past, way back, I was working in one of the banks, and we set up a branch-based sales force. It was, this was back in the 90s, before a lot of sort of trying to move from a traditional banking environment into one which was more customer focused. And we had league tables, and we put these league tables in to encourage competition between different branches. And it's quite interesting that these people were working as part of a regional team, could support each other on a regional basis, but by putting the competition in, what we found very, very, very quickly was that it started to get in the way of that effective teamwork. that people were starting to say, well, I'm going to keep this idea to myself because it will allow me to get to the top of the league table. So it's that giving people the opportunity to master what they do and giving them the opportunity to contribute to the team was much more effective at building overall, in that example, overall sales performance. And interestingly enough, after we changed the perspective, everybody's sales performance increased. The best got better and the worst got a lot better as well. And it was just by removing those league tables. So motivate through mastery and personal pride in their work, and that will allow them to become much more self-fulfilled. And as Chris was saying earlier, much more satisfied in what the individual, in themselves, I suppose. Number 5, enjoy the work. Through that mastery, individuals will enjoy what they're doing. They'll enjoy what it offers them and what it offers them as part of the organisation. So if you can help the individual team members to understand why they chose to work in the team and why they choose to stay, that gives them sort of that real sense of ownership and empowers them to contribute to the overall success of the team. And again, the example I shared earlier, just now, in terms of that sales in the bank, the sales focus, what we did was very much about helping the individual, what we call them sales advisors, or customer advisors, so to say, within the branch, help the individual customer advisors to be the best that they can be within their branch environment. But by working as part of the team, they were sharing so many different ideas and so many opportunities. It gave them that sort of that ability to contribute within their branch, but also to contribute within their region. And we really empower that ability to add greater value. Interestingly enough, just following on from that, in terms of the bank and the competition element, what we did, because you know the whole in sales in particular, there's always league tables, there's always performance metrics in place. What we managed to do was to rather than have the competition within our team, within our region, we started to elevate it to competition across regions. So the team, my team and our team, were very focused upon being the best that they could be individually and collectively, so that we could become top of the league table across the bank, as opposed to having our own mini league table within our team. Number 6, know your team. Know what works for them, what drives them. You know, get to really understand them as individuals. We touched on this earlier. Ask questions. Really start to understand what they've done in the past, where they've had previous successes, what motivates them, and importantly, what demotivates them. And listen and change your behaviour. And you know, what you'll find all too often is that if you have a team of 8 to 10 people, there'll be some people that will be motivated by certain things, and equally within that team there'll be some people that will be demotivated by the same things. So just doing one size fits all will motivate some people, but it'll actually demotivate the others. And it's that ability to really understand the individuals and know what motivates and demotivates them that will really allow you to engage with the team and the team to engage with you, and collectively drive value within the business and drive value within the team. Number 7, embrace difference. So diversity comes in many forms, and actually what you typically will find, and I think it's becoming increasingly apparent that the more diverse a team can be, or an organisation can be, the more strengths that they have within the organisation or within the team. So encourage challenge, encourage review. Give people the opportunity and encourage people to come with a different viewpoint, and to challenge what we're doing and look at things from a different perspective. I was talking to someone yesterday about a particular issue that they were facing, and we started to talk about maybe using some of the six hats approach, where individuals within the team are encouraged to think about a specific element in a specific way. So, and having those 6 different perspectives coming into it. So you can manufacture that by using those sort of tools, but actually within your team, you've probably got quite a lot of diversity anyway. So utilize that diversity and bring them out and give them the voice and encourage that discussion moving forward. And the final one is connect and collaborate. So, in today's world, that we've got real no excuse for not connecting and collaborating with the team. And some people will say, well, actually, it's got worse now because we've all gone from 2 years of working from home, and still we're not all in the office. So it's a lot more difficult to collaborate with a team. And it is, and it isn't. We have to do it in a slightly different way. But just doing a quick Teams call every now and again isn't the way. You need to do that one-to-one stuff as well and get to really understand them. And again, within the UK, we're probably pre-COVID fallen into trap of all being in the office. If you've got a large diverse team, bringing them into a central point on a weekly or monthly basis for team meetings and stuff like that. But if you think about some of the US businesses, or if Kim was on here, she'd talk about the Canadian businesses that she used to work with. They didn't have that opportunity, so they've always worked in this sort of diverse way, and where people are working remotely, and it works really well. They've learned how to collaborate, they've learned how to communicate, and they've learned how to connect people. So let's take advantage of technology and really focus in on how you can connect with individuals and how you can get individuals to connect with each other. And the final one there is, this is all of these things are as applicable to big global teams as they are to very small teams of 4 or 5 people. And in fact, I've found in many cases that when you've got a really very small team that actually all might be co-located, the connection and collaboration fails anyway, because they don't do these sort of things that we've been talking about. So it doesn't matter whether you're working with a small team or a large team. These 8 areas and these 8 steps will help you to build that engagement across the team. So those are the 8 elements. So build an ethos, trust and respect, bottom-up thinking, focus on that mastery, help them to enjoy the work, really get to know the individuals within the team, embrace that diversity within the team, and really help to connect and build that collaborative spirit within the team. So I'll come out of the slideshow now and open it up for discussion, thoughts and experiences.
I think one of the things is you're usually good at what you enjoy doing. And all of those points is just creating the environment for people to enjoy coming to work and feel that what they're doing matters. And all 8 are sort of centered around that, and treat people the way you'd like to be treated yourself. And if you keep that in mind, look at it from how you'd like to be treated. And if what you're doing matters and you're enjoying the team and the environment, you tend to be good at what you like doing. So,
yeah, I agree that with everything you've said there, Neil, with the one proviso that saying the context of what you said about treat people how you'd like to be treated yourself, which is fine as another, but some people might not want that. So don't just assume that because you want to be treated that way, everybody will want to be treated in that way. It is that looking at things on an individual basis.
That's the Alex Ferguson metaphor.
For me, I think that the critical one is getting to know the individuals, and that's what I found probably been the thing that I try and do the most now, because I've changed roles recently. But so I've had smaller teams, I've had bigger teams, and now I've moved into like an agile coach role. So I've got a greater community of people and been assigned to a specific area literally last week. And my first thing will be to start putting one-to-ones in with individuals, so I get to know them as people, because like you said, each of them needs to be your approach will be different for each individual, won't it? So until you know them, you won't know how to sort of to help them and support them, which is what my role is really. It's more about supporting them individually and helping them to work together as a team. So I think that's a critical piece.
It's interesting, Dawn. I think you've just jogged my memory. There's a guy I used to work with in the bank, and we've kept in touch with him ever since, and we're doing some work with a client at the moment together. And Mike often comes out with these really brilliant little anecdotes. And one of them is people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And it is that ability to go out and start engaging with people and understanding them, and then that helps to build that engagement, that trust, and that respect for each other.
Yeah.
Got your hand up.
Hi, yeah. Thanks for this, Tony. This is interesting, and as you know, I've done quite a bit of work for the Association for Project Management in developing qualifications, and this is part of the competence framework, developing high performance teams, leading teams, and a whole bunch of things that you've got to demonstrate as part of your assessment of competence. And it sits alongside the whole Tuckman model. So forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning. So my question to you is, obviously, kind of, this is good, and understanding individuals, their roles, where they are, but remembering that team dynamics is also really important here. People coming in, people going out, where you fit in the team at different points, and the what things you do to engage with people, and how that affects others within the team. So, based on your experiences, how do you think that kind of fits into the very transient role we often play? We go into an organization, we're part of a team, and then we're not. Yeah, and that can be quite a challenge, I think.
Yeah, I think it is a challenge, and it is, especially within programs, it's a challenge because by definition, we tend to be very task orientated within program management and project management. It's all about getting to the end point. It's about really understanding how you get there and how you go through that process, and that getting that balance between being task focused and people focused, and the extremes of those two don't work. It's getting that balance that really works. So absolutely, sometimes you need to be task focused, but it's the way that you do it, the way that you engage with people up front, that when the shit starts to hit the fan, if you've got a really engaged team, everyone will be up for the fight, or will be up to resolve it. If you haven't done the investment up front, getting to know them, getting them bought into the process, and getting them working and thinking and engaging collectively, they won't. So it is, I think there's a lot of work about, as Dawn was saying, investing the time when you join a team, or when you are leading a team and a new member comes in, investing time to help that new member of the team engage, not just with you, but with the other team members, so that you bring them into the dressing room, as you say, as a key member of that team. Does that make sense? I don't know if that answers your question really.
Yeah, again, the whole making time to get to know people when they join a team, and having those one-to-one sessions with them, not just work related, but finding more about their motivations and what drives them, and the kind of the synergies that you have, I think is really, really useful. But when we work remotely and we all have busy diaries, that is quite a challenge to do. So I currently work in a team that every 6 weeks we try and get a face-to-face together, and we meet regularly every week. There's a slot in the diary where we meet, and the first agenda item is well-being and chat. Yeah, so kind of that helps to foster that even in a remote environment. But I appreciate that when we were all working in the same offices, it was so much easier to do, and we have to adapt to the new normal.
Yeah, it's interesting actually. You pick up a very valid point there, and that you pick. I like many people. It's that water cooler moments, isn't it, where you get to know people and you have more informal discussions and yeah, you get to really understand them as individuals a lot more, I think, than rather than setting up as a formal one-to-one, because there's always an element of formality when you position something as a one-to-one. One of the things that I've done and been involved in as well over the last couple of years is a variation of the virtual networking things that we run on a regular basis within TLH. Within the team, just set one of those up, and it might just be if you've got a team of 10 people, 5 minutes each way. Within Gonna Cook, we have what we call coffee roulettes, where we get people together, and no formal agenda, but just 2 people set up for 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever, just to have a chat, get to know each other. And you sort of facilitate those discussions, no fixed agenda, but just facilitate them coming together. And that, we all work remotely, and it's done through Zoom. And it just gives you that ability to take away the formality of the one-to-one, or take away the formality of a big team, and just say, put people together and say, get to know each other. And the virtual networking bit is good for that, because as I say on every one of ours, if after 5 minutes you don't like them, you can move on to the next one. But actually, what more often you find quick areas of commonality, and that will spur the conversation that can continue after the virtual networking session itself. Philip.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring the first 2 points together, because for me, the trust issue is absolutely massive. And it's not enough for you, if you're leading a team, to be the one that is trusted. Because if everybody else in the team don't trust the other people on the team, your team hasn't got trust. So building that ethos of trust, I think, is absolutely critical to the high performance, because without it, personally, I think you're going to be sunk. And I just wanted, you probably all know, but are you familiar with the Meisters and Green trust equation?
No.
I just wonder if I could share that. Can I share the whiteboard?
Yeah, just one sec. Let me, I think I might just need to, oh yeah, you've got it.
And can I right click and paste it? No, I can't paste it. So let me stop sharing then, because that's not going to work. Share screen. Okay. How do I start? Can you just see a white screen now?
Yeah.
Or is it just me?
I can just see a white screen now.
How do I stop the share?
We had this situation the other day, didn't we, Chris?
I had to drop out and come back in.
Close whiteboard. Here we go. So let me just briefly read it, because I think it's really, really interesting to have.
What's it called?
It's out of a book called The Trusted Advisor by Meisters and a guy called Charles Green. And in that book, there is an equation for trust. Very specifically, this is trustworthiness. So trust is this combination of are you trusted and do you trust? So this is the equation which will measure whether or not you can be trusted. And it's 3 numerators and a denominator. So above the line, there is credibility. Do you know your stuff? And to that, you add reliability. Do you do what you say you're going to do? And then you add to that what is called intimacy, which is how safe do I feel in your company? All of those add to trustworthiness. And then the thing that demolishes it is the thing that goes below the line, which is called self-orientation. So if I'm trusting Tony, I think, is he credible? Does he know his stuff? Yeah, 5 out of 10. Is he reliable? Yeah, so. Do I feel safe in his company? Yes. Then I measure how interested is Tony in Tony, as opposed to how interested in Tony in me. And I'm thinking if everything Tony does is all about Tony, he scores high on self-orientation, and that demolishes your trust score.
Yeah. We did. I need to dig it out. We did. I think it was probably about the 6th or 7th round table, and it was on that equation, trust equation. So yeah, and it was a full discussion like this, and it is. You know, it was quite in that session. I think Brendan might have attended that one. You know, the discussion around that was exactly what you're just saying there, Philip. It's like, you know, that below the line self-orientation. If that comes across, we can do anything that we want above the line.
That's why nobody trusts salesmen, because you know that the thing they are most interested in is their sales, their commission, and their self-orientation. And it's really difficult to be a really good salesman and actually convince people that you're interested in what they need.
One thing I was going to add, sorry to jump in on you, Dawn, but I was going to say there's a 9th element, because there's always 9 is a good number, but it's protect the team, and it comes into the trust and being selfless. It's protect the team, keep other work away from them, keep the bullshit away from them, and be seen to allow them, free them up to get on with the job and not suffer, you know, individually. So, and I think that builds a lot of credibility. And on the credibility thing, I was always told the mantra, if I can remember it now, delivery brings credibility, credibility brings opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
I like Chris's point about protect the team. I'll just say that because I suppose I'm Agile coach now, as I said, that's my new job, but I've been Scrum Master for the last 4 years. And obviously that's the whole thing about, you know, Scrum Mastering is protecting the team, empowering the team, become self-sufficient, making yourself redundant, basically. So I sort of go down that completely. I was going to just go back to your comment about the coffee roulette, Tony, because I've used that a lot whilst I've been Scrum Mastering. We had only every other week we would like have it was more like a coffee break, we called it. We put an hour in every other week, took it in turns to facilitate it. It wasn't it was the team's time. No work talk allowed whatsoever. They could use it to talk about favourite, you know, just get to know each other really, favourite things and favourite holiday places, worst haircuts, stupid things sometimes, quizzes, all sorts. And it really did bring the team together. So, and nobody was forced to do it. Some people might not feel like it, but in the end, everybody was doing it. It was good fun. But the one point you mentioned earlier, I can't remember which point it was in, you mentioned something about league tables and things.
Yes.
Which I hate, I have to say. Having come from a very performance managed background when I was at Openreach years ago, hated it, hated the whole thing. But I know sometimes it's necessary. Where I'm working now, and it is in like finance arena, when I'm bringing new teams together, the one thing I avoid is any talk about targets, measurements, burn down charge, anything like that, because I think it demotivates people right from the beginning. It's about getting the team to like you say, to get to trust each other, enjoy what they're doing, become a strong team, and then you might start looking at those things later down the line. But I think that those things are the least important, because actually if you concentrate on the team and focus on the team, those deliverables and that performance comes out of that anyway. So you don't need to sort of dwell on those areas.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks, Dawn. Chris, you've still got your hand up, yeah? Oh,
I'm on mute. When you started this talk, I stuck down the comment 360 appraisals. There's a lot of people that are talking that they are awful and they want to get rid of them. and I'm just wondering what the whole group view about them is, because in a way that is the team of the whole organization, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, shall we just open that up? What's been our experience with 360? Good, bad, or indifferent?
I think it depends.
Mm.
It depends what the ethos and the trust in the team is going to be, and what the real agenda of a 360 can be. Because sometimes you can convince someone to do a 360 so you can get your frustrations out on a piece of paper and tell your boss why you think he's terrible at his job, and it becomes a very unbalanced and quite a negative experience. And I think actually if 360 is going to work, and it can, I think you have to have a platform of trust and a common agenda, and have that as a platform if it's going to work. And I think there are probably other methodologies which might work better.
I'd agree with that. Sorry. I mean, I think kind of, I've only ever done it earlier on in my career as part of a senior management team exercise. And it was all about learning, how people you manage, what they think about you as much as you think about your bosses. And it was good and interesting and reflective. But, like Philip says, that there were bits in there that then didn't stop there, created interesting follow-on conversations that would have been detrimental. And I think the purpose of the whole thing was to try and bring people together to improve their relationships. And I do think there's lots of other things that you can do now, particularly with performance systems moving towards sort of cascades, and teams having very matrix structures now. So it's not about immediate line management. You could be working with your CEO and someone who's a receptionist at the same time. So those line management things completely break down in
maybe if you need a
in which we work.
360 review, you're not doing your job as a leader properly anyway. You should know this stuff because it's actually part of your job.
Yeah.
If you haven't got the trust and people aren't talking to you, you're not asking about them and actually doing this thing about knowing your team, you shouldn't need a 360 review process because it's embedded in how you manage. But
Yeah.
maybe that's just pie in the sky stuff.
I think it's the challenge, isn't it, where you try to formalize a process that is quite informal, and try to put measurements against something that's quite informal, like Philip was saying, my experience of 360 has tended to be that set up for all the right reasons, but actually very little benefit comes from it, and it can be quite distracting for lots of people, and when typically when people get the opportunity to give feedback, they'll focus upon the negative rather than the positive. Generally, I think not just within 360, but generally, you only have to look if net promoter score. If you go out and say, give us a score of 1 to 10 on the net promoter score, it's very hard to get a very high score across the piece, because it's more often when you've had bad experience, you press the button of a 1, 2, or 3, and if you've had really good experience, you probably just move on. And it is, people are tend to, when asked to give feedback, tend to focus upon the negative. So I think it's a challenge that a lot of organisations grapple with, and I have to say, I've not come across 360 recently, probably over the last 4 years. In the past, massively in the past, but I can't think of an organisation that I've worked with over the last 3 or 4 years that have gone down that route.
I think I did I'm not sure, it's a circular graph of your strengths and weaknesses. I'm not sure if it was Myers-Briggs or Myers-Briggs, whatever, but this was in the 80s. My first kind of sandwich job. I worked 12 months in a factory as a project manager in various factories, and they wanted to recruit me afterwards, and they gave me a sponsor for my last year, and they thought I was great, and they did this test, and then they went, and it was one-sided. They just spoke about all the bad side. You have to change, you have to do this, you have to change, you have to change. It's like, where's the sense? You've just told me I'm great and you're paying for me and you want to recruit me, and now you're telling me I have to change. So what are you talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you have to put it in context.
So we are at 10:15. Happy to carry on the discussion if there's more to be discussed, but we tend to try to focus on these sessions for 45 minutes. So any last points we want to cover off?
I'd just like to say I've enjoyed that. It's my first one. I've enjoyed it. So thank you for letting me join.
No, it's fine. We as we said at the start, we record them. So this is I think the 21st or 22nd, I can't remember now. And they're all available on the Facebook group. So we cover different aspects, but it's all about the whole concept of 1% is that those marginal gains. So we share ideas and share thoughts, and if you can implement them and make small improvements in every area, then you get big improvements overall. So great to have you there, Dawn, and thank you for getting involved.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.
Bye.
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 Bye.